Hi, my name's Alexandra Goedert, and this is my response to the story, What You Pawn, I Will Redeem by Sherman Alexie. So the story What You Pawn, I Will Redeem talks about the journey of Jackson Jackson, who is a Native American alcoholic who one night finds his grandmother's regalia in a pawn shop. The story starts off with Jackson, his friend Junior, and Rose of Sharon at lunch walking the streets to get some liquor. The homeless crew get drunk and they start wandering the streets, and that's when Jackson notices grandmother's regalia in the pawn shop. Jackson explains to the pawn dealer that this is his grandmother's, and he does so by explaining the fact that his grandma never wanted her stuff to be perfect. So she knew, and the family knew, that she would sew by hand a yellow little bead somewhere on the regalia. So the pawn dealer takes it off, the rack and everything, and they spread it out on the table, and he says, okay, so prove it. So look for the bead. They discover the beads in the armpits. So then the dealer says, okay, if you can bring me $999, I'll sell it back to you. So then this starts Jackson's journey to get the money and prove sort of to himself that he's worth something and that he can do this and get his grandmother's regalia back. So he gets money, he then spends the money, he gets some more money. Long story short, he ends up going back to the dealer, not having the money. He only has the $5, and so then the dealer sort of asks, well, is the same $5 you came in yesterday when they were negotiating the price? And he says, no, it's a different $5 bill. So because the dealer noticed that, okay, so it's not the same bill, he actually tried. He then ended up giving the regalia to Jackson. So basically, I believe Jackson was justified in getting his grandmother's regalia back, because in the story, it shows his determination of trying to get the money by lifting change from Junior, while Junior's passed out, to buy the lotto cards and to hope that, you'd get those big winnings. And he then, knows a guy who sells newspapers, which sometimes he helps out, so he knows doing the math to figure out how many newspapers he has to sell in order to get the $999. To the point where even his cop friend he knows, who sort of helps out the Indians on the reservation, he even gives him some cash. So he shows his passion, to the dealer. But, in the story of the yellow bead. So, all that, and the fact that, he can retell those memories, and, how this regalia and his grandmother's image, painted such a strong picture in his mind that after 50 plus years, he can recall this event. I felt he's justified in getting his, almost like a family heirloom back, in a sense. So in the story, the clerk saying, unless you give me the money, I'm not giving you the regalia. However, because my main thing is I take law classes, so from my law point of view, there we go, he is technically inclined to give Jackson the regalia back, because once Jackson told him that the regalia was stolen, he basically said to, the clerk is now in possession of stolen goods, which is considered theft. So if he did actually go to the cops, and the fact that he, technically can prove it with the yellow bead story and everything, and he has witnesses stating that, it's his, and, the clerk was willing to sell it back, he legally is obligated to get his grandmother's regalia back in his possession. But since Jackson was on this big quest and everything, he didn't want to involve the police and everything. So then technically, the clerk didn't have to give Jackson the regalia back, because he didn't hold up his part of the deal, which was, you bring me this amount of money, it's yours. However, because at the end of the story, the clerk says, I don't want your money, and also says, you did win. But the clerk responding this way tells us that he wants to help this Indian see the opportunities he can have if he can be this dedicated each time when chasing his goals. So deep down, I do overall feel he sincerely wanted to give Jackson the regula back. So I felt that Jackson did redeem himself because even though he struggles with addiction, he truly gave an effort to remain sober and work for the money needed to get the regula. For example, he broke down the math for how many newspapers he would need to sell to profit $999. He went to K for lotto tickets in hope to win the $999. And when both lotto tickets, didn't have any prize money, but the second one, said, oh, you won an extra lotto ticket, you can actually really feel in the way Sherman Alexie wrote the story that Jackson, filled with hope that this third lotto ticket could be the one that helps me reconnect with my grandmother and, and how she would dance in the regula and everything like that, and just have that comfort wrapped around him. So he was very persistent on bettering himself. I feel that Jackson will use his grandmother's regula as his way to stay sober, just as Sherman Alexie writes about alcohol and in general to stay sober. I think by Jackson now having something to believe in, he will continue to use his strength and refrain from drinking.